Hello everyone, my name is Reed the Explorer and welcome to my YouTube channel. On my channel, I get to talk about my life in Switzerland, and also I get to tell you about my PhD journey. I'm an African nurse studying for a PhD in Switzerland, and so I get to tell you a bit of some episodes from my PhD journey in Switzerland. In today's video, I would like to talk about the benefits of doing a PhD. As someone who thinks that I'm an advocate of education and an advocate of higher education, I want to really tell you the benefits of doing a PhD. And this is my personal experience, and these are my personal opinions, and please do take them with a tinge of salt. And so I want to start by saying that uh, one of the benefits of doing the PhD, or one of the benefits of doing a PhD, is that you were really focusing on your passion. Doing a PhD means really going after your passion. You know, it has to be a passion. Otherwise, if it's not a passion, sooner or later you are gonna quit. And so you're going after your passion. And so, what else is better than really chasing your passion? And by that, I mean it has to be a passion because PhD is a tough journey. I mean, it's a tough undertaking. And so, if it's your passion, you are likely gonna go through your journey very softly, very smoothly, and very successfully. And so it has to be a passion. And by that I mean it has to be something interesting because there are courses that you will need to take. So you will have to study and really study hard to understand certain concepts and theories and frameworks. And so it will be so helpful to undergo such a strenuous journey if it's something you really love doing. And there are certain things like you really need to be a critical thinker, a creative writer, or a scientific writer. And all those are skills that you have to develop during your PhD journey. And so in order to go as far as going to or getting to attain those skills, it has to be something that you really, really love. And so it has to be a passion. That's my sincere advice. And if it's not, oh, it might be a little bit tough along the way. I don't mean that everyone who does a PhD, they are doing their passion. There are people who do it without really knowing what they are in for, or without really giving it a thought. So everyone's reason for doing a PhD is legitimate, but my own opinion is that it really has to be a passion. And the second reason that you might want to do a PhD is for professional and personal development. Professional development, I mean, there are certain jobs you really only can get them with a PhD. For example, jobs in the academia. I mean, people with a master's degree can also work and teach in the academia, but a PhD is usually more relevant or more required. And so a PhD can allow you to be professionally relevant, or rather to develop yourself within a certain professional field. And um, for personal development, I mean, you are really going to gain a lot of transferable skills. You do a lot of courses along the way to be able to help you like answer your questions, or to ask the relevant questions and answer them yourself. And so you get trained a lot. You go through a lot of courses, and all those courses are not only necessary for your specific research question, or for your specific PhD topic. Those courses are really, really necessary for your own personal development. And that's why, as a PhD student, you will very often be alone. You will very often not receive any help because it's some kind of personal development. And so you will do a lot of stuff that will really develop you as a person, but also as a professional. For You also do a PhD for service. I mean, service to serve the population, to serve the world, or to serve um, whichever population that is relevant to your PhD topic. So for service, um, you potentially can give a voice to the voiceless by doing a PhD, because a PhD gives you some kind of authority over research, authority over knowledge, and so you might give a voice to the voiceless through your research. There are people who do very, very amazing types of PhDs, like they study homeless populations, or they study some other hidden questions, or hidden phenomenon, or hidden phenomena. And through research and through their PhD, they can expose a lot about certain, or about such phenomena, or about such groups. There are certain groups that are really difficult to reach or difficult to research, and this is really relevant, like serving the population, or serving the people, or serving the nation. My research group is actually uh, a group of researchers that research difficult to research topics. Like my colleagues are researching in Switzerland about the homeless people, people without the necessary papers to live in Switzerland, and they are getting to expose a lot of stuff that no one ever hears about. You don't hear about such things in the news. You don't hear about that. When I tell you I live in Switzerland, I think the first question you might be, or the first thought that comes to your mind is, oh, such a beautiful country, such a rich country. But you might not, it's not the first question that comes to your mind, like, oh, there are poor people in Switzerland, or there are homeless people in Switzerland too. That's for sure not the kind of question that comes to your mind. But through research, we are finding out that there are such people, like homeless people, like people without the right papers to live in Switzerland, and they don't have access to any healthcare or any social service whatsoever. And so, such kind of things. That's how I say that through research, you can serve people, you can serve the voiceless, and you can give them a voice. Of course, research can also bring about some damages, but I mean, I'm not talking about damages because in my particular case, I haven't experienced damages that research has caused, but I over and over I experience benefits of research, or I read about the benefits of research. And other than giving people, or giving other people a voice, or giving situations or phenomenon or phenomena a voice, you can also give a voice to yourself. I mean, as I said, you're doing a PhD in the area that is really passionate to you. And so as you do that, you are likely to give yourself a voice, like you give yourself a niche in a certain professional field, or in a certain research area. Like me, I am trying to give myself a voice in the area of diversity in nursing homes, because we have found out that, or rather, we are seeing more and more that the skills related to handling diversities within healthcare institutions in Switzerland, they are needed. And so I'm researching in this area, and I'm likely to give myself a voice, a niche in this aspect of bringing in the aspect of diversity within the skills framework of the health workers working in healthcare institutions in Switzerland. And so you give people a voice, but you give yourself a voice too. Like I would be speaking my mind through the kind of research that I'm doing, you know? Like I give myself a voice. Are people are gonna hear me and hear what I have to say about this particular topic of diversity in Swiss nursing homes. And so through a PhD, I'm likely to give myself a voice too. Um, And of course, as I mentioned a while ago, that is that, you know, I give myself a voice by researching stuff that has never been researched before, or stuff that I really find interesting and necessary and relevant to research about. And remember, it's not about giving myself a voice and giving some people a voice. I think everybody has agency. I have my agency. The people with whom we do research, like research participants, they do have an agency, they do have a voice. And now more and more we are doing the kind of research where we we include all of those research participants, and so they are a part of our research. They give their voice to our research, and so at the end we are really not interpreting stuff in our own views, but rather we produce research results that are congruent with the participants' voices. And that's, in a nutshell, what I mean, giving a voice to people or to research participants, and also giving a voice to ourselves as researchers with PhDs. And as I said, or I don't know if I've mentioned that, is that PhD is actually about asking interesting questions and answering those questions yourself. Interesting questions. They don't have to be any kind of questions. And so it needs strategy to attain a PhD rather than intelligence. You know, you need some degree of intelligence. But I can't say that the PhDs are for people who are super intelligent, who score 100% in every subject. That's not really what I'm saying. I mean, asking interesting questions and being able to answer those questions by yourself is the essence of the PhD. Therefore, if you're that kind of person, and if you're that kind of critical thinker and really deep thinker, the PhD is really your thing, and that's what's required to be able to pursue a PhD, in my view. Other people might have other views, and I think everyone has the right to their views. Um, in fact, if you want to teach, stay in the academia, you want to teach as a professor or whatsoever, then a PhD is necessary. So a PhD enables you to be able to teach as a professor. But there is a caveat on the issue of professorship. It's very important not to think that, oh, I'm acquiring a PhD soon and I'll be a professor. I think being a professor also has conditions, and there are different conditions in different contexts and in different fields. And so it's very important that before you complete your PhD, get yourself conversant with the kind or the conditions under which you may be required to work as a professor, and whether you can work like a professor anyway, or whether you can ever have that title of professor anyway. Because I think it's not that black and white, or it's not really black and white, like I have a PhD, I'm then a professor. I think there are many conditions associated with it that you need to clarify before getting yourself at the end of the PhD, and then you are not able to work as a professor. And I think there are many conditions, like recently in my organization, I heard that to be a professor, you needed now to, or to maintain your position as a professor, you needed to reapply, and one of the conditions will be a certain amount of teaching hours, which is really a high amount of teaching. And so you have to also count with the fact that as a professor, you will be needed, or you will be required to teach, maybe teach a lot, and you will also be required to publish a lot. So doing research. But of course, doing research as a professor, you don't have to do it yourself. You might be a PI, and then you might have students like master students or PhD students doing research for you, and you would also be publishing and co-publishing papers, and so that's really not a problem. But the issue here is that be very clear about what it takes to be a professor in your context and in your professional field. It's really important not to get disappointed at the end. And for me, along my PhD journey, these are things that I'm just discovering along the way. And so I'm not promising myself anything, but I'm just trying to make strategies and to plan a career path for myself. And of course, in consultation with my supervisor, such that at the end of my PhD, I am not surprised to find myself where I will be finding myself then. And so it's an important aspect to address. And as a PhD, I think a PhD allows you to generate knowledge, to generate new knowledge. Imagine yourself, imagine yourself counting as a one person who generates knowledge. Of course, there are many other people who generate new knowledge, but I can imagine myself being among the people generating new knowledge because of my PhD. And that you can't do without a PhD. And so it's such an honor, and it's such, it's something that I will be very proud of, to be able to generate new knowledge. Like I said, ask interesting questions and answer them myself. And they don't have to be only interesting. The questions should be interesting and new, or potentially, or they should have a potential to produce new knowledge. And that's what I mean, that you will be producing knowledge, you will be a producer of knowledge, and not just a consumer of knowledge. What an honor. And you get that through a PhD. And one thing I would like to talk about before ending this video is that, I've talked about the good things, the good reasons why you should do a PhD. I will always emphasize one negative or one downside of doing a PhD, and that's about finances. We live in a world where money counts, money matters. Like when I picture myself now where I am, I'm now studying, and I'm not earning a lot of money. Of course, I'm not earning money. I'm earning some money, like, yeah, just to meet my basic needs. But and these are years of money lost. In old age, I will need to have an income, because nowadays people live very long, and people live very many years of not being productive, or of not being able to work, in retirement. When you're in retirement, you're not working, and you're consuming and you're consuming and you're using money. So you really need a lot of money in old age to be able to sustain you if you live in countries like this, like in Switzerland, where everything is very, very expensive. Or in the US, or I don't know about other countries, but even in Africa, where I come from, life is also very expensive. When it comes to healthcare, for example, you can't afford healthcare without money. So you're losing money with PhD. The years you spend on your PhD There are years of money lost, and you have to put that in consideration before deciding to take this journey of the PhD. On one side, after the PhD, you might recover very fast. On the other side, you might not recover. You might never recover. And so you have to make a clear decision as to whether you want to have those years of money lost in your life. For me, it doesn't really matter. At least I see it like that at the moment. It doesn't matter. Who knows what I would be thinking in old age? Would I regret it? Would I not? Maybe hang on here with me on this journey, and maybe we will get to talk about that in my old age. And so imagine you are my community from now until then. And so it's just worth telling you that please subscribe to my channel. Please like the video if you like the content or if you like me. And please write something in the comment. Tell me about your own experience, whether you're doing a PhD, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, or whether you're considering to do a PhD or whether you're not considering it at all. Please write me a message and let me know what you think about what I just said and what you think about your own situation. I'll be very happy to connect with you. And with that note, I want to say bye-bye and see you in my next video. Bye-bye.